Hello everyone, it's Polar's Lights and Signals. I am here with a special video for you guys today, and not just a video, more like videos. So this is one of 3 videos that I'm going to be doing of 3 of my American Electric 125s. So this is going to be a 3-parter, so I will do a video obviously of 1, and then I will do a separate video of the other 2. Obviously this will be its own video and this will be its own video, so 3 videos, 3-parter. So I'm sure you guys, a lot of you streetlight collectors have heard or have seen recently that American Electric Lighting / Acuity Brands has discontinued the American Electric 125. And a lot of people are pretty sad right now and pretty disappointed about this. And the reason why actually is because, well, American Electric and Cooper Eaton Lighting, they're the only 2 companies left here in America that make HID lighting. Other companies like GE and Hubble have discontinued all their HID fixtures, streetlight fixtures, and have gone completely LED. And it sounds like American Electric is slowly starting to go to LED, as the 125 just got discontinued. I don't exactly know what the date was. It's at least a week before the recording of this clip I'm doing now. But yeah, it's kind of sad. The American Electric 125, I guess, was around for 35 years. I pretty much have 3 different generations of 125 here. But yeah, and hopefully the 115 will stick around a little bit longer. That's the smaller version of the 125, but I have a good feeling that American Electric's going to discontinue that pretty quickly now, and a couple of their other minor HID fixtures that I think they still sell. Cooper Eaton Lighting still has the OVZ and the OVX and a couple other minor HID fixtures that they sell. However, a lot of their stuff had been discontinued back in the early 2010s when GE and Hubble were quitting, but they decided to keep some other basic fixtures around that were cheaper to make. But now, with American Electric deciding to do what they're going to do, I have a feeling that Cooper Eaton Lighting is going to do the same thing soon. But yeah, me personally, I really do like the 125. It's actually one of my favorite streetlights. It's my second favorite modern style streetlight, and the reason why it's my second is just because of the design. It's a little bit bulky, but the profile is not really too bad, and I just kind of like the way it looks. Other than that, there's really nothing else, no other reason why it's my second, but I have 3 of these fixtures just because I really do like this fixture. If everyone knows, the Cooper OBD is my #1 favorite modern day fixture. But I don't have very many Cooper OBDs other than the 2 in my collection that I've already done videos on. So anyway, I will give you guys a little bit of history before we get started with this whole 3-parter series. So American Electric came out with the 125, I believe, in 1987, and of course it's continued its run up until now, 2022, July, sometime here in July. And the 125 has gone through a lot of quality changes, not really changes in appearance, but they have a lot of quality changes, and the quality changes, unfortunately, are not good. So when American Electric came out with the 125 in '87, they were starting to have close with the partnership they were doing with ITT, which I don't know what that stands for, but they were coming to a close with their partnership. And once 1990 hit, they pretty much, American Electric was on its own for, I think, 7 or 8 years until the late 90s when Thomas & Betts decided to partnership with American Electric. And during the 90s, the early to mid-90s, the American Electric 125 was pretty much just, you know, the American Electric 125. And it was a pretty nice, well-made fixture. But until Thomas & Betts took over, and this may offend a few people, but I think when Thomas & Betts took over, that is when the 125 really went to shit. The 125 you see on the left here is actually a 1980s version. I don't know what specific year it is, but they made this up until Thomas & Betts, and then when Thomas & Betts came into play, oh my gosh, just American Electric at that point was done. You know, the ownership of American Electric was just not the same, and the fixtures were pretty awful. There's lots of good examples of 125s that I've seen in the field that the Thomas & Betts versions, at least, that have had problems. With the quality decrease in the 125, the fixtures were not anodized anymore. They weren't powder coated. They had a cooked on paint, which would chip and fall off within only a few years. And also, actually, with it chipping the way it does, it actually would capture a lot of water. Thus, parts would break on the 125, such as the little legs on the bottom here, and then the doors would fall off, or the latches on the front wouldn't even latch correctly. So when you'd close them and they'd stay closed, you'd sometimes think they're latched, but no. They would come open and the doors would always fall on the ground. And I've seen a lot of that, and you know, I will say that has unfortunately continued up until the discontinuation of this fixture. But yeah, the Thomas & Betts 125 that was made during the late 90s up into sometime when Acuity Brands took over, because the partnership did change again sometime in the 2000s. I'm not exactly sure when that happened. This is kind of the point where I really don't care anymore, because the 125 was made pretty poorly. But sometime in the 2000s, Thomas & Betts, as their company, I think, switched to Acuity Brands, and then it was Acuity Brands American Electric that was still partnered. But, and then I think the name actually changed American Electric to American Electric Lighting, which everyone's pretty much more familiar with that today. But yeah, when Acuity Brands took over, the fixtures were made just a little bit better. The paint jobs that were done on them, they I think still used a cooked on paint, but it was much thinner, and it wasn't as choppy looking. But the housings were still kind of weak. The aluminum was still not anodized really in the fixtures, so they still had that potential of fixtures breaking and falling apart. But since they were made a little bit better and had better paint work, they lasted a lot longer, and a lot of the newer ones I've seen have done fine. I've not really seen anything too crazy, except for a couple out of the many I've seen that have had the doors fall off. But other than that, the newer versions are okay. They're not the greatest, and this one right here is one of the Acuity Brands versions I have. This is a 2018 fixture, and of course we'll look at that in part 3. But yeah, and pretty much that type of quality continued up until, well, the discontinuation of this thing. So yeah, the 125, I think it's 35 years of production, or something like that. This thing has been in. So this fixture, wow, has been made for a really long time. It's one of the, even though it's unfortunately not the best fixture, or has not been the best fixture through its entire run, it definitely, I think 35 years is a very long run, compared to some really old fixtures like GE, their M400s, and even though the M400 line has technically been around up until the early 2010s, the M400 has gone through so many changes, and they pretty much have changed that fixture every 10 years. The same with Westinghouse. Their Silverliner didn't have too many changes, but then, of course, you know, in the 80s, they really overhauled it. At least in America, they changed the OV 15 and 25 to a completely different looking fixture, and then when Kraus-Heinz took over, yeah, it kept changing over and over. So the 125 has definitely stayed pretty much the same throughout its entire run, and I think that's really impressive. I'm glad American Electric at least didn't try to change the way it looked too much, but unfortunately, yeah, the quality with this fixture did not stay. I know there's people who like some of this Thomas & Betts and Acuity brand stuff, but the Acuity brand stuff I don't hate too much. But anything Thomas & Betts, oh my gosh, if you try to get me to like a Thomas & Betts fixture, I will totally not. Thomas & Betts, you know, that partnership was a very poor choice, because the fixtures are awful. They're cheap as heck, and they break, and they're really trash. They're just garbage. So hopefully that doesn't upset anyone. But if you talk about a 113 or 15 from the Thomas & Betts era, or a 125, I'm not going to like it, because it's just really, really awful. Anyway, with that history out of the way, I think you guys are probably getting very excited now to see my 125s. So today we're going to start with what I consider is the best version of the 125 or rendition, and it's this one right here. Alright, so this right here is my 1980s American Electric 125 400 watts Mercury Vapor. So this fixture, I really like this version of the 125 the best. Like I said, it's really high quality. And if you're wondering where I got this 125, unfortunately I'm not doing streetlight work anymore, so I wish I could be getting coming across more of these because I'd see them all the time. But this I got when I was doing streetlight work, and I got this from Detroit here. This is a Detroit fixture. Not really a downtown Detroit fixture, but it's from the suburban areas of Detroit. So yeah, this fixture I think actually came from Royal Oaks. I actually have had this fixture for a while. This was being taken down just because the street was being upgraded with, of course, to LED. But I went ahead and saved this version because at the time I didn't even realize it. But something about this 125 I thought was really special. And when I got it and looked at it a little bit more closely, I noticed how high quality it was. And that it really definitely needed to be saved. And I did some research on it, and I didn't realize that American Electric made the 125 back in the 80s. I actually thought the 125 came out sometime in the late 90s or so. I thought it was a relatively new fixture, but no, the 125, if you really think about it, is actually, especially now since it's 2022, this fixture is pretty old. So yeah, this 125, again, like I said, it's very high quality. I've never seen such a high quality 125. The metal on it is anodized. The paint is powder coated, and you can see, of course, it's pretty much faded. But since it's a powder coated paint, it's not really caused a lot of corrosion to the metal. But of course, like I said, the metal is anodized, so you don't have to worry about a lot of corrosion on this fixture. And the glassware too. And I'm going to say this again about the low quality. The glassware on the newer versions just suck, but the glassware on this is pretty good, actually. It's same quality glass you'd find, not on the 25000 from the 60s, but when the 70s came around and they came out with the 25, the Model 25, the glass kind of got a little bit more hazy, but it's the same quality as that. It's pretty clear, and we will take a closer look, of course, at the glass when we get to it, but yeah. But I'm not going to really go on around the outside of this fixture too much. It's pretty basic, but if I bring the camera up right now and just show you guys, you can see pretty much what the side profile looks like. It's pretty thin. It looks really good from the side. It's just pretty nice and smooth and rounded on the top and front. Of course, on the back, it's nice and square where you got your your slip fitter comes in. But yeah, that's pretty much it. There's really not a lot to see on the outside of this fixture, and since it's a pretty modern fixture, it's it's just pretty basic. The only thing I can really mention, I guess, is on the front here, on the top, you have a little spot for a level. And going down here, you got these little stubs that come out of the top of the housing, and this is actually where the screws just mount on the inside for the ballasting components. And then I have no idea what this is, but this little thing is right here. And you can see the feet for the hinge. See, the legs are coming off the door here, and they just kind of sit on this hinge. And this is one piece that would fail a lot on the newer versions, because the metal just is not very good. But the metal on this thing is really good, and there's no cracks or stretch cracks at all on that. It's in really good shape still. And then I guess on the front real quick I can show you, and we'll see it again in a minute when we open this, the little square indent here for the latch. I kind of like this, actually. This is kind of clever. It keeps it recessed in with the front of the fixture, so it's pretty nice, actually. But yeah, that's really it. There's nothing else to see on here. Since the paint's kind of coming off, I did wipe it down before I started this recording. You can see it just a slight bit on my hand, just that little haze. The powder coating's rubbing off, but oh my gosh, it's so much nicer to have it rub off than to have the paint chip, right? So yeah, I really like that this is powder coated. Here is the photocell. Oh, this sticker is going to come off. Hold on to that. This is a DTL photocell. This came with this fixture. This is a 1995 DTL. It actually works still surprisingly well. You can see the sticker there, which is actually coming off. But yeah, this came with the light. And here is the photocell socket. I will say real quick, the photocell on this actually is kind of different than some of the other American Electric photocells, and I'll show you on the inside why. But anyway, for the top part, it's pretty simple to adjust your photocell socket. All you gotta do is undo this little screw, which undoes a little clamp, and then this will spin. Mine's a little loose, so you can kind of see I can move it a little bit. And then once you got it in the position you need to have it for your photocell, all you gotta do is screw the screw back down to tighten that clamp back up, and it'll keep it in place. So yeah, and the photocell is just pretty basic, really. You can see there's a lot of writings on it, which you actually don't see on a lot of photocells. Westinghouse's photocells do not have actually any writing on them, so it's kind of nice to see that they have writing. I know it's upside down, but you can see it says American Electric, and then it has North, and it has all these wattage and voltage ratings, which is pretty cool. I've actually never taken... Yep, and actually you can see right here, and it's really, really cool. Loosen screw to turn and rotate the north, to your position. It has the instructions right there, so really cool. American Electric. I like that American Electric did that. That was very smart of them, and it actually continues. Even though the newer versions of the 125 aren't very high quality, I believe this design continues up into the newer versions. So yeah, hopefully we will see that when we look at these two. Oops, sorry about that blur, but yeah. Anyway, with that out of the way, let me go ahead and put this light fixture on its back, and we can take a look at the insides. Alrighty, so to open up your American Electric 125, all you gotta do is go on up to the front here with this the latches, of course, and it's pretty simple. You just pull it forward. It's pretty standard, like every other fixture, and then you lift it down. Now, when you go to undo the door off the hinge, you want to be really careful, especially if you have a newer 125, because they're low quality. Sometimes you can easily break the metal legs if you're not careful, and then you damage your hinge. So you want to make sure you have it back far enough to where you can kind of just slowly let the door, lift up or fall off, and boom, you got the door off. So of course, before we fully go inside the fixture, let's just take a quick look at the door here. Like pretty much the rest of the fixture, or the outer housing, it's pretty basic. There's not really too much to see, but let's go ahead and get the glass off. So to undo the glass, all you gotta do is undo this little tab here that pretty much just holds it in place. And then you got two like little feet right here. Just kind of want to slide the glass out from under it. And then voila, your glass is out. And then here is the door real quick. I'll look at the bottom section. Let's look at the front first, because this is kind of my favorite part of this 125. Right here you can see a little flat spot that's kind of like in a level position. This is actually where a level gauge would be mounted if you decide, or if you would or wanted to have a level gauge come with this fixture, just to help it for when you install it. Some people prefer the level gauge, but I think it's stupid, because really, to be honest, it's on the door, and you can't really level the fixture when it's closed. You gotta have it open, so kind of pointless, but that's there, and that actually is on every single 125 that's ever been made. And here is the coolest part. The 400 watt NEMA sticker, so it's kind of a silver plated sticker. I will say there are a lot of 125s from the 90s that I've seen in Detroit as well, and they have a darker blue sticker, and they use like a paper sticker. So one thing to note, if you see a really old 125 and it has a really dark blue sticker, that's a 1990s version. But if you see one with this really light blue faded sticker and it looks really old, and the 125 still looks really old, that means that this is a 1980s version. And the 80s versions, I think, are the best ones. I've gotten a couple 1990s versions before, and they're okay. They're pretty much the same, but yeah, I like this version better. So yeah, that's kind of a little, just a little bit of a thing for you guys, just in case you're trying to identify what year this is. As for high pressure sodium versions, I honestly would not have no idea. So yeah, at least for the Mercury versions. Here are the little legs that come off the back. They're of course just directly molded with this housing, and of course, again, with newer fixtures, these can break off too. These, I will say, are very, very strong compared to the newer ones. And even as thin as this door is, I can bend it a little bit, but I cannot bend this at all. It's very stiff, so definitely high quality metal here, and definitely some anodizing there. So yeah, we've seen that. Here is kind of the inside of the bottom part. Nothing really to see in there. All you got, you do have some little chunks of metal sticking out for the spacers. And then if I flip this up here, you can see those little feet right here that pretty much just help the glass sit in correctly. But here is the latch. So you can see the latch goes up in here, and we'll see it in the fixture. There's a little piece of metal that the hook right here, you can see there's like a hook shape, hooks onto, and you got 2 screws that are holding it down, and those just keep the switch latch thing in here, and there's a little tension spring piece of metal that helps it stay forward so it's latched properly. So really, really nice. And I think one reason why the newer versions the doors come off very easily is because they corrode very, very easily. And what I have seen, and I've dealt with a couple of them before, is that these springs, they won't pull this back forward anymore. They'll lock up when they get corroded. So yeah, I think that's why the doors never really stay on with the newer ones. But yeah, this, you can see, has gone through many winters up here in the north. Lots of salt has probably been inside this fixture, and with the amount of powder coating and anodizing they did with this fixture, man, this thing has lasted a very long time. I know there's a little bit of surface rust, but surface rust can easily be removed, and this can all be nice and shiny again. So awesome job again to American Electric for, you know, choosing to put good quality first instead of cutting costs. So yeah, I'm really happy, because the Thomas and Betts versions, and I'm going to say this a lot throughout this whole 3-parter, the Thomas and Betts versions suck, and they corrode and just fall apart. So yep, these early versions are excellent. So really, really proud of that. And there's really nothing else to see on there, but let's go ahead and look at the glassware. Now, we'll take a look at the other 2 glasswares on the other 125s, but I will say this right now, they are all pretty much the same, except for the 2018 Pulse Start fixture I have. The glass is slightly different, but I won't go over this too much, because a lot of you people are definitely familiar with this glass as of right now. It's a pretty standard design. American Electric's been making this specific piece of glassware in like glass shape / model of glass since the 60s, when the 25000 came out. So yeah, it's not really changed at all. It doesn't have any logos on it. It's just a blank piece of glass. But this rim design is pretty standard. It can actually fit in Line Materials fixtures. It can fit in Pemco's later 1960s fixtures, and McGraw-Edison's fixtures as well, I think. And let's see, Hubble. It can also fit in a Hubble fixture, and a few other fixtures that I can try to come up with. Philips fixtures, the Helios fixtures. I don't know if you guys have ever seen those. But yeah, this is a very standard rim design here. This is super compatible with a lot of different manufacturers. But this version of the glass, it's pretty standard, but it does have some really nice design patterns. It's just a standard 2-way glass refractor pattern that Holophane has used on a lot of their different rim variants of the glass, and it has the same rough pattern on the back. Here's kind of the bottom section of it. It's a very weird, bulky piece of glass. It's actually a lot bulkier looking when you take it out of the fixture. It's a very, very unusual piece. This one that came with this 125, you can see my hand through it really nicely. It is, for the most part, pretty well molded. It's not really the highest quality piece of glass I've ever seen, but this is definitely not the worst. I definitely would give this glass a good rating if I had to rate it. You can see it's pretty nice and pretty clear and crisp in mold. The details are very defined and look really, really good. But one thing you can see on it, and actually I got a good reflection that's showing it off, is some wrinkles here and there, just in some spots. You can see some texturing. You know, it's not really a perfectly clean mold. So unfortunately, yeah. But for the most part, it's good. It looks good enough, and it's molded well enough that it's actually acceptable. So, yep, I definitely will give this glass a passing grade of B. And last but not least, I definitely need to show you guys what it says on the rim of the glass. It's a little bit washed out, but you can see it says Holophane, Enduro, and it has the model number, patent number, and you can see it was patented in 1963. I think that's when the 25 000 came out, which this would have been the glass it would be in. You know, and then of course on the other side, you can see it says American Electric. And actually, yeah, you can see right there 25-003. So I think this glass has had some minor revisions. My 25 000 that I have, I believe it just says 25 000. So yeah, that's pretty much what this glass was made for. But yeah, that's really it. There's no other wordings on it, no logos. It's pretty basic. I kind of wish American Electric did put a logo on this glass, because it actually would make this glass a lot more iconic. It's a shame they didn't, but I think since this was a very standard, very compatible piece of glass, I don't think Holophane wanted to have an American Electric branded version, just because you could use it really in any fixture. So yeah. Anyway, let's go ahead and look at the inside of the fixture. Alright, so first off, you can see where the legs connect to the fixture. This is like the hinge piece right here. It's casted into the fixture. It's not bad at all. It's pretty high quality, of course, since, like I said, the metal is very nice and anodized well. So yeah, not much to see here. It's just pretty basic. Moving up, you can see where the slip fitter clamp is. You got a nice 4-bolt system and a really nice big piece. It's just a pressed piece of stainless steel, which isn't so stainless anymore. As you can see, there's some corrosion on it, but it's not that bad. And yeah, like I said, you got 4 bolts, but you don't have really any adjustment for up and down pivoting, I don't think. I think this is a pretty static mounted fixture. I've never seen any of these pivoted up at all, so yeah. There is like no room on this one to be pivoted up and down, which is too bad actually, but yeah, nothing too special. It's a pretty basic system. You can see the terminal block here, and hiding right next to that terminal block is the ground screw for grounding the fixture if you ever wanted to, which I've never ever seen anyone ground a street light. But yeah, and then the terminal block, this terminal block's mounted a little bit differently than you'd normally see these mounted. Usually this would be mounted directly to the fixture, but for some reason in this version they got this piece of metal here. It's like a step to kind of put it up a little bit. So yeah. One thing I'll mention before I actually talk about the components is that during this time, American Electric, during the 80s and 90s when the 125 was out, American Electric would move a lot of the stuff around. For example, the capacitor I've seen in some of the 90s versions are flipped around. Sometimes it'll be on this side, or sometimes it'll actually be on this side. And then sometimes this terminal block will be mounted on this, or it'll be mounted directly onto the housing of the fixture. As for the transformer, it really can't go anywhere as it's designed to mount a specific way. But yeah, the capacitor and the terminal block, for some reason, it's always flip-flopped around. But yeah. But talking about the transformer and capacitor, if we look at the transformer here, American Electric's transformers are kind of unique in the way. There's no like mounting bracket for this transformer to be mounted. What they've done, and this is on all their stuff, even their ITT stuff they did in the during the 80s, they have these pieces of metal tabs welded to the core of the transformer, and then they use that to screw it down. So it's kind of weird how they do that. But yeah, it's these transformers and these 80s and 90s American Electric fixtures are kind of odd in that way. And this transformer, oh my gosh, it's really nice actually. For an American Electric fixture, it's pretty much just a 120/240 CWA transformer, and it of course is wired for the luxurious 120 that everyone enjoys when these streetlights are in the hands of collectors. And yeah, it's pretty nice. The plastic on here is pretty high quality. The cores, you can see, even though it has some surface rust on it, it's really nicely finished. And they got lots of stickers on the transformer too, which are pretty much just labels to tell you how to wire this based on the instructions that would definitely come with this fixture, which I unfortunately don't have, and no one would ever probably be able to get a pair. But yeah, it's a really nice transformer. The only thing I do not like about these American Electric transformers, though, is that American Electric used aluminum wires on the coils. This is the one part of this era of American Electric fixture that was probably the weakest point. And I will say there are a lot. It doesn't happen too often unless they're made well enough, but there are quite a few of these transformers that I have come across that have failed pretty badly, and for a couple reasons. Now, I really wish I had a picture of it, but I got one of these 125s that had a wire, the wire got chewed up so it stopped working, and one of the coils did not have varnish on it. It was completely unvarnished, and I've never seen that before, and that's actually how I could tell it was aluminum wire, because there was no varnish, transformer varnish on that coil. I think it was like this, it was one of these two big coils. I forget which one specifically it was. But yeah, the transformer had no varnish on it, and I was like, oh my gosh. And without the varnish, the wire was loose, and the transformer was extremely loud. I will say this transformer is not too loud, but this transformer is a bit loud, and probably louder than it really should be. But yeah, they used aluminum wire for the coils, and it's just aluminum wire. I'm sure there's some people on here that are electricians, and you guys all know the horror stories of aluminum wire. It's not very conductive. It's very cheap. The wire can break easily and fail easily if there's any type of resistance, and it can heat up and burn up. Aluminum wire is terrible, and I'm a little bit sad to see that this fixture has it. Luckily, this transformer, of course, like I said, when I got this fixture down, it was working. But so far, nothing's gone wrong, and this fixture runs pretty much fine for the most part. But yeah, that's pretty much the cheapest thing about this era of American Electric fixture. So yeah, going on, of course, into the other two, we will see different types of transformers that are non-American Electric. And they're a little bit better, but yeah. This is definitely better than those transformers, but this is not the best trans at all in here. But overall, it looks nice. I like how it's pretty much designed. I think if they just didn't use aluminum wire and actually used copper wire, this would be a lot more nice. But anyway, moving on from that, let's go ahead and look at the capacitor. And this is another thing I'm going to unfortunately talk a little bit badly about. A lot of these fixtures, this fixture was made right around a time where cheap capacitors started to unfortunately appear in streetlights, and this capacitor is definitely no exception. This capacitor is has not completely failed yet, but when I run this fixture, it doesn't always get the brightest, and the transformer coils do get a little bit warm. So this capacitor, unfortunately, is starting to slowly fail. But, of course, since I don't run my streetlights 24/7, I don't have to worry about changing it out right now. But this is the capacitor that's in here. It's not an Aerovex capacitor, because Aerovex capacitors started making appearances in fixtures, and oh my gosh, if you guys all know me, I hate Aerovex capacitors. But this capacitor, I think, is like it's made by a company called, like, Corn Cob or something. They just, they actually have been making capacitors for a long time. But yeah, I will say actually, I kind of like this capacitor because it has that nice solid matte gray paint on it that you will usually see in a lot of old fixtures. You usually will see these older painted capacitors, so it's actually kind of cool to see it in a 125, and it really just makes this thing feel a lot more vintage. But yeah, anyway, you can see the capacitor is just kind of under strap, and this is something American Electric has done for quite a long time, and kept doing up until, of course, the discontinuation of their fixtures, or some of their stuff, at least for now. But yeah, other than that, there's really nothing else to see in here. All you got is just some other extra, points where you can screw onto. These are actually for the power door version, so you can have that split door section mount to it. But of course, this is not the power door version, so yeah, that's really it. There's nothing else to see. But moving up into our light socket here, and this is kind of nice. The light socket is actually mounted to the reflector, and you can see here you actually do have a lot of points for adjustment. You can move it back and forth, you can move it up or down, and you got an A, B, C, D position that you can move it to for forward and backward movement, and that would be that'd be like your horizontal movements. And then for up and down, unfortunately this transformer is just so big, you can see you got what appears to be 3 different steps. And currently my lamp is mounted to the top step. I actually have not changed the step on this. I'm not 100% satisfied with the position of the socket right now, but that's totally fine. We're pretty much just reviewing and looking at this fixture this time around, so it doesn't matter too much. And before we get into the front of the reflector, one thing you can see is the bottom of the photocell here, and you can see that nice thick clamp that keeps it in tightly. And one thing I've noticed about this photocell socket, and this is what makes it kind of interesting, is look at the wire. It's rope coated. I've never seen that on such a newer American Electric fixture. And yeah, it comes up into the front too in the terminal block. So I thought that was kind of interesting, and I actually like that. It makes it just, again, it makes it feel so much more like a vintage fixture. So pretty cool. But yeah, if you ever get this fixture and you want to adjust the socket, there's quite a lot of room there for adjustment. But if you do want to adjust it, though, I will say, and this actually brings me perfectly into my next, the next part of this video, is there's 2 screws down here on the reflector that you probably want to take off so you can actually take the reflector out, which I won't do in this video, but yeah, you get the idea. Just so you don't have to do it while that's crammed up against the trans. Here is a lamp that came with it. It's just a newer Sylvania 400 watt Mercury lamp, and this is a lamp that DTE pretty much uses. DTE's contractors do still relamp Mercury fixtures here in Detroit. If they do fail, though, they will definitely replace them with LED. And HPS pretty much is just replaced with HPS here. But yeah, they do try to relamp their Mercury fixtures, and there are definitely 1,000 watt fixtures still around and in use here in Detroit, and oh my gosh, they relamp those too with 1,000 watt Mercury lamps, so pretty cool. I think DTE knows they got a lot of old stuff on their system, so they try to keep it going because they know it's people like it. But yeah, there's those 2 screws to get your reflector out. And yeah, the reflector's pretty basic in here. It got some little designs to help with light distribution, but that's pretty much it. You got a felt gasket here, and that pretty much just seals the inside of the reflector from the outside world and bugs and stuff. But this one has really degraded, and I'm going to replace it. The Mercury light has made it kind of brittle. It's just kind of powdering off. But yep. Other than that, that's really it. It's just a pressed aluminum reflector. There's just like every other fixture I pretty much have talked about. So yeah, and you can see this is definitely another example as to why this is a 1980s American Electric 125. These older versions have these pretty simple stickers. They're very simplistic. It just says 400 watt Mercury H33, and then I believe down there it's just a serial number, and that's really it. That's all you got. But with the 1990s versions, you have a lot of information, and it actually gives you a date and a wattage, and actually it says the company name on it. So yeah, this is definitely proof that that's the 80s version. What year is it though? 87, 88, 89? I have no idea. But yeah. Anyway, let me put this lamp back in here real quick, and we'll look at one more quick little part. And that is on the front. Here is where the latch, the hook part of the latch hooks onto. It's just a piece of metal that's just screwed in on the front. And there's nothing else really under here in the front section. You can see it's just pretty much an empty void. So yeah. Anyway, that's pretty much all you can find in this American Electric 125. And I will say the other two are pretty much going to be mostly the same. So yeah. One thing like I said, I don't like about the 125, and this is something I'll mention real quick. The profile is not 100% perfect. You know, the American Electric 125 is very boxy on the back section, and you know, when you look at it from the bottom, it isn't 100% appealing. The Cooper OBD is nice because it kind of curves in on the back, but I will say one thing that makes this technically better than Cooper is you can put the capacitor in the back away from the reflector. And Cooper, when they did that design, made that design choice, they had to keep putting their capacitors up towards the front, and they would fail quite often. So yeah, I guess unfortunately, to make sure your fixtures are going to last, you do have to make some unwanted changes. But when you do look at this from the side, it looks really nice, I will say. But yeah, let me go ahead and put the door back on, and we can watch this fixture warm up. Alrighty, so the 125 is now plugged in. Let me go ahead and shut a couple lights off. The photocell is definitely super responsive, so hopefully as I'm shutting the blinds here, we can get it to start. But before I do that, it's always important, because sometimes your streetlights will get a little bit too bright in your room, and then they will just shut off. So before you turn on your own streetlight in your room, it's advised you put some tape over the photo eye. But let's go ahead and shut the blinds first and let it come on naturally. So this is my American Electric 1980s 125 400 watts Mercury vapor, and one. Oh, the curtains will move in the right direction. There we go. Two. And hopefully three. There we go. Perfect. Go ahead and do that. Yeah, it does buzz kind of loud. I will say it doesn't get any quieter, unfortunately, but that's okay. It's not a bad buzzing. It's kind of a nice buzzing. So yeah, let's go ahead now and watch this thing warm up. Okay, we are at full brightness. At least I think I am. The capacitor in this fixture definitely needs to be replaced. It's not letting the fixture get very bright. As a matter of fact, it's actually making the lamp somewhat hot. But yeah, you can see, I mean, when you look at it, it's actually fairly bright. But let's go ahead and take a nice look at it now. Oh yeah. Oh, the glass is definitely pretty good. Look how nicely you can see that Mercury lamp in there. You can see the round profile. Man, the Mercury lamp is hot. The Mercury lamp is definitely good. It's I think it's actually fairly new. The glass is a little bit hot to the touch. I almost can't touch it, but yeah. I will say these 125s in a Mercury Vapor are pretty rare. So it's nice to see these up here in Detroit. And I actually have one in my collection. There's not a lot of people that have these in Mercury. There are some that do, but there are many that don't. Kind of do that. You can see that lovely Mercury reflection. again, we can take a closer look at the glass. You can see the nice glassware on it. You can see the lamp. Yeah, it's not really too loud. Could be probably a lot worse. It's really sad they didn't put an American Electric logo on that. I really would have loved to have seen that. Go towards the back here, you can see the 400 watt sticker. And the spot for your level gauge if you were to have one. And yeah. Really, really love this thing. So that was my 400 watt Mercury Vapor American Electric 125. I was definitely glad I could share it with you guys today, and I'm definitely excited to see you guys in the next part where I talk about my high pressure sodium one. But yeah, if there's anything you guys know about the earlier American Electric 125s, please let me know down in the comments below, as the information is definitely very helpful. And if anyone knows where any of these are still in service in your area, please feel free to share that information and just let people know where they are. So, you know, hopefully someday, if they're still around, people can go and take pictures of them. So yeah, and you know, get the information down, because it's really good to do that. So hopefully these will get saved. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. For any new subscribers, please like and subscribe if you guys are interested in streetlights and want to see more stuff like this. And of course, everyone, stay tuned for part 2, where I will review this high pressure sodium version of the 125. And of course, everyone, happy collecting, stay safe, and I will see you guys in part 2. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.